Gloves Off podcast with James McSweeney and myself, Evil Eddie. There's so much that's been going on inside the MMA community. We're going to be running through it all. Also, if you're new to listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe down below where we're going to get podcasts every week, every other week. And also on the YouTube channel, all you got to do is go to YouTube and search Gloves Off. I'll share the link on our social media pages. We're also on Facebook, so follow us there. You can follow James at McSweeney MMA on Instagram and myself at Pure Evil MMA _. So what's going on, James? How you doing?
No, I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. Just been busy few weeks. Just been crazy over here right now. I mean, it's low season, which is usually very quiet, and I just had my hands full with training, teaching, just running business in general, and just getting ready for my daughter started school a couple of weeks ago as well. So that was a new thing for me and my family. So just the whole run of leading up to a good event. So everything's been cool. Just been keeping busy. So me and you keep missing each other. You're a busy man as well. So you know how it is. It's all right.
Well, obviously, we've had a couple of weeks died off from the last time we spoke with our listeners here and our supporters, and there's a lot of stuff that's happened since we last spoke. And what a very controversial thing, I guess, so to say. James, I'm just going to give this to you to explain to everyone what exactly happened regarding why we had to take down episode 3 of our podcast.
Well, we didn't have to take it down. Let's get one thing straight. The fact of the matter is, this is a podcast. I'm an American citizen, so are you. This company is registered in America. We have freedom of speech. I can leave a review and voice my opinion against anybody and any business. That's like things like Yelp and reviews are left. People can go onto my Facebook and leave a review of my business or me or anyone else, and that's freedom of speech. And everyone's entitled to their opinion and their review. And to be honest, I've had people leave exceptionally good reviews of my gym or my businesses. And I've had some people, you can't please everyone, and they're unhappy about the way they were treated. And I pretty much, I had a guy come to my gym. There was a miscommunication, and he missed a class. He thought it was down to the coaches. It wasn't. But I contacted him personally and said, hey, come back to the gym. If you had a bad experience, I will rectify your experience. I'll give you a free one-to-one. Come and train the next class. He did, and he took his review down. He apologized and just said, he was really excited about coming to training with me at my gym, and he was disappointed because it didn't happen. And then because I made it up to him, he was more than happy. And that's just how life is. You can go to any restaurant in the world and have a good experience and a bad experience. It's just how life is. Everything I said on podcast 3, and I'm not going to give Mike Swick and AKA any more after this conversation, because to be honest, I'm sick of giving a free advertising away. If Mike's listening and he wants to sponsor the show for advertising, hey Mike, find my phone number and call me and I'll charge you, and you can be on the show and you can sponsor the event and we'll talk about your fucking gym. But prior to that, I'm not talking about it anymore. What's happened, I went into my business and my staff said to me, oh, Kun James, we have a letter for you. I said, oh, okay. So I opened the letter. Mike Quick Swick was so quick after hearing of episode 3, he ran to an attorney. His attorney,
real quick to get to the attorney.
Real quick to run to an attorney. I mean, to be honest, this is kind of laughable to me. When I got the paperwork, I absolutely was in tears. I thought it was hilarious. I got a letter from an attorney in Bangkok saying, basically, we'd offended Mike Swick. We'd done damage to his business or whatever we said or whatever we did. Basically, he took what I said and didn't like it. Well, he shouldn't like it because it's the truth. So the fact of the matter is, everything I said is my opinion of my experience at that gym and of him as a coach. Now, that's my review and I'm welcome to it. And I have freedom of speech and I can say whatever I want, as long as it's not defamation of character, like saying someone does this or someone does that as a person. That's different. I didn't do that. I just said my experiences at that gym, and I stand by it. I only said to you, look, let's just take it down, because the fact of the matter is, I'm not out there to maliciously damage or upset anybody.
Of course not.
No, of course not. This is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand by my opinion. If I feel that's causing someone trouble, yes, we're in the, whether I like someone or I don't like them, the fact of the matter is I'm in the same industry and so are you, as a lot of people. Now, if another podcast we were speaking about called you and said, "Hey, you spoke about our podcast the other day. I didn't like what you said. Can you take it down?" Listen, we'd say, "Listen, to be honest, yeah, we don't like it, but yeah, we'll take it down because we're not trying to harm anybody or whatever. We're just giving a simple review of what we felt about their podcast." Now, Mike Swick could have called me. He has my number. He used to contact me on Facebook. And according to the letter that got delivered to my business, he knows where my gym is. Why didn't he just come down and face me face to face? Or call me. If he's too scared to come to my gym, call me and say, "James, I didn't like what you said about my gym. You know, can you take the podcast down?"
Well,
I
first
would
off,
say,
James, you didn't say anything about the gym. You just
"Oh,
said,
I think the gym was a beautiful
yes,
facility, right?"
exactly. For word, that's exactly what you said. You said he has a beautiful facility
I
over
know,
here in
I know
Thailand.
I know what he didn't like. I know what he didn't like because no one it didn't say in the letter from the attorneys. It didn't like that I put on there that he favoured a particular fighter at that gym
That's
that
what it
happens to
was.
be female.
Mhm.
The only female at that gym, he particularly favours her. He doesn't like that, but it's the truth. So I stand by what I said, and we only took down episode 3 because I mean all of our listeners were calling in and emailing in and backing up the review about the job opportunity that didn't exist, and there was numerous people contacted us, emailed you especially,
Yeah.
saying we went for that business and we went for that position, and Mr. McSweeney is right, it doesn't exist. Now, if it does exist and the person that got given that job can produce his 100,000 baht a year, he can produce his work permit, and he can produce everything, the accommodation, all of it. Said,
The
I
dream
will
job.
personally, I will personally apologise about that because that means I was wrong. But from my knowledge, I know that didn't happen. But if someone comes forward and produces all them documentation to say it did, I'm more than happy as a man to say I apologise. Now, the letter from the attorney, this is the bit that really got me. I swear I had tears coming down my face. It was hilarious. The bit that got me the most, the attorney said we had to take down the podcast and I had to contact all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest of it, and publicly apologize to Mike Swick. Not just that, I had to then go to all the local newspapers in Phuket and publicly apologize for 3 days in a row.
Wait, this is that. That is ridiculous. First off, that's ridiculous. To first,
I
if you take,
swear to you, I've
that's
got the
being
letter
extra.
here. If anyone wants it, I'll black out the personal information of myself and whatever, and we will post the letter online. If we get over 100 people emailing in or contacting us on social media, asking to see it, I'll post it online. I got the piece of paper, the letter from it. I laughed my ass off, and then I wiped my ass with it, and I threw it down the toilet. That's exactly what I did with that documentation. Now, the fact of the matter is, some people are a little bit not quite thinking straight. This is an American podcast,
Mm-hmm.
not a Thailand podcast. This company isn't based in Thailand. I'm an American citizen. So are you. Our company is registered in America, and we got freedom of speech. YouTube does exactly the same thing. Any podcast has the same thing. We can voice our opinion about what we want. I could say Donald Trump is not a good president, and I don't think he's done anything good for the country. He can't sue me for that. He can't threaten to take me to court. I have to publicly apologize to Donald Trump 3 days in a row in all the newspapers across America. It was hilarious. I swear to you, I just laughed my ass off. I just thought it was funny. The only reason why we took it down was pretty much just like we said earlier. I'm not here to
We're not here for that. Yeah.
upset people in the community or whatever. If Mike wants to fucking say anything to me, come down to my gym. I'm there twice a day teaching all my classes. You know exactly what will happen if you come to my gym and speak to me, my friend. Pick up your phone if you want to speak to me. Don't waste valuable trees and nice letters. Waste your money with an attorney. Bullshit. I ain't doing it. I ain't publicly apologizing. It gave me 7 days to do it. I haven't done it, and then nothing's happened. And I ain't gonna do it.
So,
So that's it.
like you said though, like it First off, let me say this. This is something that YouTube protects. It's something that iTunes protects, Podbean. It's called Section 107, which is a
Yeah,
copyright disclaimer, which under Section 107 of the Copyright Act from back in 1976, there's an allowance that is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit educational or personal use tips and balances in favor of fair use. This is fair use. You are giving a review of your experience and sharing a story of something that
yeah,
happened. There's nothing wrong.
yeah.
This is a podcast.
Listen, the fact of the matter is, right, Mike's ego got hurt, right, because basically, you know, he got hurt because he's a very egotistical person. He's always got the sunglasses and the little shirt and the top. He's always walking around like, you know, he's the big boss. His ego got hurt because publicly he got exposed. Not just that, the second kicker, at the same week, in his gym, he has a massive billboard poster of about 20 foot by 20 foot of Amir. And Amir is like his number one fighter that he's had out of AKA for a long time. He fought in Ryzen and so forth. He was an Iranian Olympic wrestling champion. He was their number one poster boy. He would use Amir for everything. Well, a long time ago, when I was training there, me and Amir used to spar every day and train all the time. And Amir left. Amir messaged me and told me he was never going back. Thank you for your help. I'm never going back there. I'm not training there no more. At the same time we did podcast number 3, Amir's manager contacted me and said, Mr. McSweeney, would you be able to train Amir for his upcoming fight for ACB? And I said, oh, I thought he was training Iran. He said, yes, but he wants to come back to Thailand and work with you. He's going to spar you, hold pads for you, do groundwork with you. He also, while Mark Hunt is there also with a couple of his guys, he wants to spar with them as well, but he wants to work and train only out of your gym. And I said, yes, of course. So Amir flew over and was training with me at the same time. Well, of course, at the same time that podcast come out, you know, in AKA, there's the big posters of Amir. There's probably about 4 or 5 of them. He's kind of advertising Amir's still there, and he hasn't been there for over a year, and he's not going back. And when he came to Thailand, he come to train with me, and of course he fights this Saturday. So success to him. But he's been training with me for the last few weeks, and sparring, grappling, doing everything in my gym. So of course it was a real kick in the teeth for Mike as well. So I can guarantee that would have upset him so bad because it's his number one fighter out of his gym chose my gym and training with me over him. Plus, I voiced my review about him as a person and my experience at his facility. So I think it was a double ego boost, burst his little bubble. Do you know what I mean? Because of course he likes to think that everything is amazing and he's the best thing in Thailand, but far from it. But like I said, this is just my review. I know people that have gone there and had a great training expression. I know people that have gone there and had a great time. They think it's the best place in the world. But me, I don't. I've trained all over the world. I've trained with the best. If you haven't trained at other gyms before, it's like this. If you've never had a good steak before and someone offers you a McDonald's Big Mac, you never even had beef before. You try this Big Mac burger and you think, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is the best. Oh, I loved it. And you try to tell your friend, no, you've got to try this. This is the best burger in the world. And you say, what? Have you had this before? This is a fillet steak. Try this. No. This is the best. So listen, just be quiet. Take a slice of this. And you cut a nice medium rare fillet steak and you put it in the guy's mouth. And of course, then he realizes what the best steak in the world is and what a shitty McDonald's is.
That's a good comparison.
You've never been
That's
to
clever.
any other gym, or you haven't trained with high-level gyms, and that's the place you go. You think it's the best place in the world. But when you have been to other places, I've trained at the best gym. I've trained with Freddie Roach. I've trained in the Hollow and Lucian Carbine for over 20 years. I've trained with Peter Arts. I've trained with Jackson's. I've trained at Grudge, Olympic Training Centers, Robert Drysdale, Leo Vieira. I've trained with some of the best in the world across the board. So I know good teaching and good training. But this is just my opinion. I may say to you, Eddie, you should try this restaurant over here. It's the best food and the best Italian in the world. You could say to me, no, I don't like that place. I like this Italian.
Well,
I'm
here's
not going to sue over it.
the thing, James, the one thing that like I totally 100% support with what you said, because I saw a tweet that went out with, him looking for the cameraman, and immediately it caught my eye, which is why I originally brought it up on the show. It was like,
Yeah.
you knew a little more inside information about what happened, and you kind of put the warning out there, which is totally fair. Like, I would want to know something if somebody knew something and I wasn't told about it and I got set up there, like I feel some type of way. It's good that you said what you
Yeah, but
said.
it'd be like me promising $1 million to the 1,000th member of McSweeney Martial Arts. I'll give them 1,000, the number 1,000 member that signs. I'll give $1 million. I get 999 members, and then I don't give the $1 million out. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's not right. You know what I mean? And in this industry, martial arts, it should be about honor, respect, and all these things. And and if I feel that I know something, this is why we have a podcast. You don't have to listen to this podcast. No one's putting a gun to your head. And you know what? I don't feel I'm that influential. Like, everything that I say is set in stone. It's just my opinion. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to agree with me. We can have a debate about it if you want. I'm more than open to a verbal debate with anybody.
I just think it's
not an
ridiculous
issue.
to go to an attorney and go through this entire
Listen,
process.
it's just laughable, to
It
be honest
is.
with you.
It
Laugh.
is.
And to be honest, like, it's not.
ridiculous.
It's almost like if it was a stranger, like, I didn't know, I would almost be like, well, I can kind of understand them, maybe, like, why they got no other way to contact me. But when someone has your phone number, someone knows nowadays with social media, you can contact anyone on Facebook and Instagram and all these direct messages, bullshit, WhatsApp and all these other apps. So it's easy to contact people. Or do you know what you can do? You can get in your car, drive to my gym, and face me face to face and tell me what you didn't like I said. That's what should be done, man to man. But to go to an attorney is just Mike Swick, quick to run to an attorney. I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was laughable. I wiped my ass with a paper. I threw it down the toilet, and I went on. I could just imagine him calling his attorney, crying like a little baby, like a little 5-year-old with a snotty nose, his bottom lip all quivering. Mr. McSweeney said something nasty about me on his podcast. Can you write him a letter, please? Thank you. And put down the phone. I could just imagine it. It's hilarious. I was absolutely wetting myself. I just thought it was funny. So the fact of the matter is, that's why we took it down. We didn't have to. And if anyone wants to say we had to take it down, I'll put it back up. So don't push my buttons, because I'll put it back up tomorrow. It's not a problem. I only took it down through common courtesy of the industry.
100%.
I stand by what I said. I ain't apologizing to anybody. If you want an apology, come down and see me and ask me for it.
See, last and closing thoughts on this, guys, is just like, what are our rights for podcasting? What are you
We
guys?
have every right in the world. You know full well as I do, this is a podcast. It's same as the YouTube status of law. I mean, there's a lot of people, from what you've sent me, have cut and made like a highlight video
of that episode. Yeah.
Of the episode 3, right? They're still out there.
Yeah, you guys can probably find it. It's out of our control now.
It's out of our control. Contact them and sue them and see how you get on. The only reason why he's gone to a Thailand attorney is A, because he's cheap, B, because he lives in Thailand. But listen,
I'm people get away with murder out there in Thailand?
I've got American citizenship. This company podcast is American. So are you. And how do you think it's got anything to do with Thailand? Next week, I'm going to be in Holland. And if I do a podcast next week, are you going to go to the Dutch judge or an attorney and try to get him to sue me too? And the week after that, I'm going to be in England. Are you going to contact them as well and then try and sue me there? It doesn't make sense. It's nothing to do with Thailand. And Thailand would laugh at this. It has nothing to do with Thailand whatsoever, because this isn't a Thailand issue. It's not even an American issue.
I could only imagine, like, the people in Thailand hearing that complaint and just being like, this is like such an American complaint. Like it's just so dramatic. It's so dramatic.
Yeah, but you know why it's dramatic? Because if someone said something about me that was untrue or about my business, I would just laugh at it. You know what I mean? It's like if I owned a coffee shop and someone said, I went into Mr. McSweeney's coffee shop, they didn't give me any sugar, Didn't even give me a teaspoon to stir the thing. It's the worst coffee shop in the world. But I know I give sugar and I know I give a teaspoon. I would just laugh. I would just laugh because I couldn't care less. You only get upset when you get exposed. You only get upset if someone out there knows the truth that you're trying to hide. That's the only reason why people get upset.
We'll end it with that one, guys. So let us know what you think. Of course, Section 107, which protects us, but like we said, we took it down. There's no reason to continue this. I like Mike Swick. I have no issue with Mike Swick. So you know, it's down. It's in the past. But what do you guys think about this? Because this blew my mind when I heard it the second I did. And kind of the segue into the first topic here, James. I mean, there's been so much beef inside the MMA community this week. Cowboy Cerrone was just on Rogan's podcast, and he was like, you know, I got a couple of years over at Jackson's, and here's this new guy who I have an upcoming fight with against Mike Perry, who's doing the same kickboxing classes as me, and it pisses him off, and he kind of exposed Jackson Winklejohn. This has happened before in the past, before with Rashad Evans and John Jones. It's exactly what this reminds me of. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is that kind of a weird thing to do? Like, would you ever train two fighters that are training to fight each other, especially on an organization like the UFC? Did you heard about this? The Cowboy Cerrone and Winklejohn?
Well, I've only heard what's online. I mean, I know Cowboy, I know Winklejohn, I know that obviously Jackson. I trained there for years. I think I saw similar to this when Rashad was going through it with John Jones. When John was coming to the gym and Rashad didn't like it and so forth. I've seen this kind of separation before. Mike Winklejohn is a very nice guy, a very good coach, very strong-willed person. He sticks to his guns. He is not someone that, you know, if he believes a certain thing, he sticks by it. Of course, Cowboy used to live in Albuquerque, then he moved to Denver and had his own ranch, his own gym, and so forth. I'm not too totally sure what the beef is between the two. It seems like Mike is upset that Cowboy didn't help out the other fighters, only trained himself, and then took coaches away. So it seems that way. It seems very strange in that respect.
It's just weird to have two guys training for one another at the same gym. Like that's got to be really awkward. Like doing the same classes and stuff. Like I couldn't even imagine doing something like that.
Yes, no, it's very strange. Yeah, it's very strange. Um, yeah, damn, it's so awkward. Yeah, it's so strange how they've done that. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's just put them both in a certain predicament because it's put the gym in half now, right? Because now Greg is going to be coaching Cowboy, and Mike is going to be coaching the other fighter. So it's just put them in, and now there's this. Everyone's getting a bit dirty now. Talking about PEDs, they're talking
Oh yeah.
about they're talking about lots of stuff. So it's getting a little bit awkward in that respect.
Which is like honestly like my last comment on this because people have been talking about it all week. Like I would just say, you know, just for this camp, we'll split this up. Like it's a difficult situation to have to deal with if you're the coach of the gym, and like you don't want to make anyone upset. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's true, and they're making it very difficult in this respect. They've just made it very hard. It's just it's very touchy how to play it. You know what I mean? Because once things get said, they can't be taken back. Once loyalty gets broken, it can't be put back, especially in gyms. It's very awkward and very cliquey. I know Cowboy, and when I was back there, Cowboy always had his own little clique. He always had his own little fighters. He always had his own little guys. Um, he always did his own things in that respect. I just don't know how they're going to fix it. I don't think it's going to get fixed. I just think they're going to have to fight separately. And then after the fight, we will determine what happens. I mean, Greg's very loyal. He's been with Cowboy for years and years and years. Mike, Cowboy never used to use Mike that much for pads, and now he uses his own people. I think he was using Shotgun Gibson for a while. I don't know who he's taken to Denver with him that Mike was referring to. So it's made it kind of awkward in that respect. It's really made things tough.
so let us know what you guys think about that because it's a really interesting dynamic there. What would you do if you were the coach? Let us know at Gloves Off on Facebook, and also at McSweeney MMA and at Pure Evil MMA _. So
Ed,
our
Ed, can we pause there for 2 minutes? I just got to deal with this small moment in the gym. Can we
yeah.
just pause 2 minutes? Sorry, mate.
All right, guys, so we're back here. All right, so moving forward, there's been a lot of crazy topics going on inside the MMA scene. And if you've been a fan or a supporter of this podcast, and you know, the dynamic that me and James has is very different than other podcasts. You have a media member, and you also have a fighter who's been inside the actual scene. So this next topic is really perfect for this podcast to get inside both of what I think and what James thinks here. So this is kind of jumping ahead, James, on our outline, but I think this is one of the most interesting topics. There's an upcoming fight, Curtis Blades, who you've been advocating for, you know, deserving a title shot over Brock Lesnar or anyone else, and he's been following along, liking the post and everything, so that's pretty cool. Well, now they set it up. He's going to be fighting Francis Ngannou for the second time, the rematch. So the question here is, you got Francis Ngannou, who's already has a win over Curtis Blades, but yet he kind of has his back up against the wall because he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He has Dana White kind of breathing down his throat, saying he's got an ego problem. What is the mental mindset right now for Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades moving forward into this fight? How would you approach this?
Well, in my opinion, I don't think there should be a rematch. I think the fact of the matter, whether it was a boring fight or a good fight, it's irrelevant. The fact is that it shouldn't be happening. You know, Ngannou said that he was gun shy and he didn't pull the trigger. It's his fault and it won't happen again and all these things. But that's the point of this game. It's the opportunity. He missed the opportunity, right?
100%.
Because he's so devastated leading up to this opportunity, I think they've made it happen. But I honestly feel that Blades has gone through everybody and deserves that shot.
He also, like, I interviewed Curtis 2 years ago, right after he lost to Francis, and he was so adamant the entire time we spoke how bad he wanted that rematch. Because if you guys remember, in that fight, it was a doctor stoppage. I mean, he didn't
Yeah.
get knocked out, but it got pretty messy, and I was for it, saying, you know, they did the right job, but it was so frustrating to him. Curtis did everything possible to come back. Now he has the shot, but also, like you were just saying, Francis has been a little gun shy lately. But if he's going to be fighting somebody that he's already beaten, that's going to kind of, you know, grease that trigger up. I'd think, right?
Well, it's kind of like they're trying to give him a bit more mental confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
They're trying to do him a favor because Blades is no one's favor, I can tell you. He's a tough guy, very smart, knows how to train. I think from his fight 2 years ago to now, he's way developed more. I mean, when I saw him against Alistair, I was very, very impressed with his
Oh yeah,
work.
that's right. He fought Alistair recently.
Yeah, Alistair
Yeah.
is no slouch on the ground, I can tell you. And the way he handled him, taking him down and ground and pounding him and doing what he did, is no joke. You know, he's the real deal. That's for sure. So this is like a no losing situation for the UFC because they're either going to create a star in Blades, he's going to piggyback off the hype that was on Ngannou, or Ngannou's going to step up and show everyone what he's saying he's going to do. He's going to come back the way he's saying he's going to come back. Maybe fighting someone you've already beat can give you that level of confidence because you've already done it. But as you said, it wasn't the most dominating performance. It was stoppage. And I don't believe Blades is the same character he was 2 years ago. So we'll see. In my opinion, I don't think this fight should be happening. I think it should be Blades should be going for the belt. But at the end of the day, it's not my company. I don't run the show. But I just think as a fan, I think I'd like to see him progress. But if this fight, and he wins this fight, he's guaranteed the belt title. He's got to.
That's the thing. Like, the most frustrating part about it is, like, they're rewarding Brock Lesnar the title shot next, apparently, over Curtis Blades, who's definitely earned a spot. I mean, taking out Alistair Overeem was the #1 contender, maybe the #2 contender under Francis. But Francis, man, I mean, he, like you said, kind of lost his shot there. I mean, 2 in a row. They're kind of doing him a favor here. I love the story. I love the dynamic here. Who's going to come on top? Is he going to ride off the piggyback of Francis's, you know, hype, getting past that? And I mean, the story's there. So I'm really looking forward to that fight.
The fighter that I saw Blades, the character I saw in Blades against Alistair is Ngannou's worst nightmare.
How do you see that fight going?
Kid takes Ngannou down, he's in a world of problems. We already seen when Miocic took him down. with Stipe. Took him down. He had a lot of problems on the ground with Stipe. He gassed out. He wasn't handling takedowns very well. He wasn't performing the same way. He was almost shocked that he wasn't dominating the way he had done before. He just, did he become a bit of a one-trick pony looking for that big one shot? Possibly. He put a lot of faith in it, but people worked it out. Hopefully he's got something else up his sleeve, because if he hasn't and he's still open to be taken down the way he is, Blades will wrestle and hump the shit out of him.
And I believe Curtis had a couple of takedowns on him in their first fight. The real thing is here is like, did Francis Ngannou get exposed in the Stipe Miocic fight, where it's like, I mean, no, you can't take anything away from Francis. I mean, he's got power in his hands, but it's almost like what they say with Conor McGregor. Like, if you can get past the first round with them, then you're kind of in the clear. Do you believe in that or no?
I don't know if I believe in that, but what I believe in is that there was this kind of mystique around Ngannou.
Yeah.
They had built his profile up very well. They built up his, like the Mike Tyson syndrome. Everyone was fearful that if he caught you, he was going to knock you out. And that can be the case, for sure. But the way Miocic did it, he kind of exposed him. And he kind of burst everyone's belief bubble around it. Oh, he can be beat. Stipe beat him, so now I can beat him. Do you know what I mean?
Well, people were feeding him all of that because we believed it. What he did to Alistair. I mean, I was literally concerned for Alistair after that fight, and just the rise that Francis had. But Stipe in that fight really kind of put him down. But how can you how could you look down on Francis? I mean, he had Dana White backing him up, Joe Rogan backing him up, saying that he's just like a specimen, a freak of nature. Like, you can't really.
You can't put him down. He is a specimen. He is a freak of nature. I mean, the guy hits like a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt about that. You can't judge his attributes. No way near it. But what you can do is, this is the highest level of fighting in the world. And there are guys out there that are not going to let you perform your best. They're going to put you actually in your worst. Now, we're going to see, has he been working, or has he had enough time to work on his weaknesses? Because Stipe exposed them. Blades definitely would expose him and take him down and show his weaknesses. I can tell you that much. So it just depends. Has he had enough time? Is he mentally secure enough? There is always that situation that someone who has had their burst bubble, who was so mentally and confident, that had the big hype train going for them, once they do get beat, sometimes they never recover fully. It's very difficult for them. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, when Alistair beat Brock was a freight train, was walking through everybody. When Alistair beat the shit out of him, he kind of got exposed. And in my opinion, he never really was the same again since.
Yeah, man, it just seems like the ego thing with Francis Ngannou there was just like a big thing for him. And we're going to see if we can get it back here with Curtis Blades moving forward. But the next topic that we got to talk about here, James, is kind of the media side of things. The UFC isn't too happy with Conor McGregor. He's not doing any media for this upcoming fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov. But in my mind, it's like, it's Conor McGregor. He's one of the biggest stars in combat sports right now. How much does he really need to do to really promote this fight over just one press conference?
Well, I think the UFC would love him to do all of them, because the more he does, the more hype he causes, the more controversy he causes. He's not a quiet guy. He's not just going to go to any media or press conference and just sit there like a good lad on the seat, is he? So when he goes to something, he always puts on a show. He always beats him, he always beats the Flash Conor McGregor. He always puts on a performance, and he builds a lot of hype. He builds a huge amount of hype. So by him not doing it, I think he's very smart, because in my opinion, it just shows that he's come back to the MMA after a long time off, especially from the boxing. Maybe he learned a little lesson from the world tour that he did with Floyd. Maybe he knows, I don't know, this is a pure guess from my side. Did that distract him from his training? Did that distract him from, his concentration? Did he feel that affected him a little bit? I don't know. It's just a possibility. So maybe he's thinking, now I'm coming back, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to make sure that I come back in and I concentrate on the job I've got to do in hand. Or the guy's extremely smart. By doing none of it, causes a lot of controversy, causes a load of people want to speak to him, and all eyes are on him yet again. I mean, he can't put a foot in the wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. it almost turns itself into a promotion of not promoting. Like, right?
Really, it does because it's just not like his character. So it's almost like you want a piece of the pie that you can't get your hands on. So it makes even more hungry, and more people want to discuss it. So yeah, I mean, in that respect, I'm not too sure. Only him and his camp will know. Only him and the UFC really know. Do the UFC know he's not going to do it? Are they on board by acting like they're pissed off with him? I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Or are they generally just pissed off that he hasn't done it? The fact of the matter is, he's at that stage in his career, and he's that powerful financially, and that powerful with pay-per-view buys, and he's that powerful in the industry. He doesn't give a fuck, because if he doesn't want to do it, he ain't going to do it. He ain't get bullied by him. He ain't going to be told you have to go. We'll cut your contract. It's not going to happen. There's too much money involved. So they make way too much money from Conor McGregor to try to upset him. I don't think they're going to get bullied either and be pushed over, but they won't push as hard as like. Remember when Nate Diaz was late and stuff like that? I mean, he was fined and people were getting upset and all kinds of problems, and that won't happen with Conor.
I mean, they already kind of had like the promotion with the whole entire bus incident, which was, against
That was
Khabib. I mean, I was there in New York that day.
pretty quick, right?
And you know what? Here's the other thing on top of it all. Like, Conor McGregor, like I said, is one of the biggest stars. But like you pointed out, we've seen a lot of stars before in the past make mistakes by doing too much media, going into movies and getting distracted, like Ronda Rousey. Everyone's like, oh, she kind of got distracted here. This is crucial for Conor McGregor to come back after losing to Floyd Mayweather. Not that it did any damage to him because it was in the boxing scene, even though he lost, but if he comes back and now loses to Khabib, his stock isn't going to drop too much, but it's going to burst the bubble a little bit. He needs to pick up a W here.
Do the same thing. It's going to make the guy that's unbeatable beatable, right? So, I mean, he rectified his loss against Diaz, and now he's come back and he rectified that loss. Him losing against Floyd is no loss because, I mean, geez, he's not a boxer and he held his own and did a great performance. In my opinion, he won 5 rounds. So that's with one of the pound-for-pound best fighters of the world. That's fantastic. In the MMA world, he can do no wrong. Even if he does wrong, it gets covered. I mean, the fact is that he's a very strong persona. He brings a lot of money, brings a lot of pay-per-views, a lot of fans. I think it's a smart move, in my opinion. But the reason behind it, who knows? No one's going to know. And that's the idea of it. If it's done from him being distracted, I don't believe so, because this kid has done absolutely a ton of media before, put a load of pressure on himself by declaring rounds, declaring how he's going to finish people, gone out there, carried that pressure and delivered. So I don't think it's that kind of pressure. I think, to be honest, it's just, I'm going to go out there and do something that I haven't done before and cause a lot more controversy. I'm not going to do any media.
And he did one of the,
sometimes media talks so poorly about an athlete, right? He gets a lot of positive press. But when he went to boxing, a lot of boxing press gave him a lot of hard time. And he told him he was going to shock everyone and put them all. Sometimes, if you piss athletes off, especially some of his caliber, don't forget, media only make money from controversy and interviewing fighters and athletes. Someone like Conor earns the media a lot of money, because without that story, you ain't making the money, right?
100%. I can attest to it.
And if he's pissed if the media's pissed him off, and he declares, "I'm not doing no media. I'm not giving you any money." It's a dangerous thing, isn't it?
I can't wait, man. I mean, the way that Conor looked at 155 pounds against Eddie Alvarez, who was another wrestler, I mean, I really can't wait. And a lot of people...
Everyone thinks that Khabib is just going to walk through him. I don't see it. I don't see it whatsoever. I think his wrestling is legit. I think he's a very strong guy, but it's not a wrestling match. This is not a wrestling match at all.
James, a lot of people think it's going to be a landslide one way or another. How do you see it going?
I think it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be a landslide. I think Khabib is a good fighter. I don't think he has the same tools and fight awareness that Conor has. Conor's fight awareness and distance is absolutely impeccable. He knows how to close the distance and escape a distance like no one I've ever seen in the octagon. He can close a gap and hit a shot so quick. We've seen him. His timing's impeccable. His strength landed is fantastic. His accuracy is on point, and he's super confident. and we've seen him be taken down and stood up. Now, I think Khabib's probably one of the better wrestlers that he's ever fought at his size. Um, I don't think it's going to go Khabib's way, in my opinion. I think I'm never going to underestimate Conor again. I've done it too many times, and he's proved me completely wrong on so many occasions. The guy is the real deal. He can fight. He's pound for pound one of the best. Um, Pound for pound, the most fan base, that's for sure. But in my opinion, pound for pound, one of the most talented fighters of the world. And I don't think Khabib's got enough tools to beat him. Being a good wrestler is not going to be enough.
Here's the thing too, like everyone gets on like, oh, you're going for Conor McGregor dick rider. Just like you said right there, every time recently, especially, Dennis Seaver, Chad Mendez, Jose Aldo, Eddie, like the whole ladder from that point, I didn't think Conor was gonna win.
Chad Mendes is an amazing wrestler too. I mean, and the fact is, he just couldn't get his hands on him. And when he did, he got caught on the way in. It was a big problem for him. This is the problem: is to wrestle with someone, you've got to get your hands around their body, and to get your hands around Conor's body takes a lot. The guy's distance is he's got that left hand, that straight left hand is beautiful. His right hook is great, and he keeps that long, open, wide stance, so he doesn't let you in too close. He doesn't let you in too close at all. And he's doing the side kicks, he's doing the push kicks, the teeth. He's keeping you at bay all the time. That long jab, his body shot's very nice. I don't see Khabib getting in there. I really don't.
How do you see his
But
game evolving now that he's kind of like dove into boxing for a few months last year?
I think he would have learned a lot. I think he would have evolved a lot as a fighter. I don't see a negative coming from that experience. To have the confidence to go in there with Floyd Mayweather and last 10 rounds, that doesn't bring in negative. That only brings a positive to know that you got hands. And everyone knew he had hands before in the MMA world. But I don't see that. I mean, great conditioning. He went through one of the best training camps probably in the world, financially, working with some of the best guys, the best facilities. He did everything in that respect, And now the guy's got over $100 million just sitting around, plus sponsors at bay, just dying to help him, to put him with the best people and the best places and the best. He doesn't have a stress in the world when it comes to his business.
Well, if there's one thing that we can promise our audience here, this is definitely not going to be the last time that me and you are going to be talking about this. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more news that's going to be coming out as lead up to the fight. But let's move on here for the next topic, James. Something that I've been dying to ask you. Ultimate Fighter Season 28 premiered this week. It was the first time they've ever done a heavyweight season since you've been on there. Did you catch it? Because I did not. I missed it.
I'm exactly the same. I did not catch it. I didn't get it over here. I only just saw highlights online. I didn't get to see the whole thing. So I really, I couldn't get it over here whatsoever. We don't get that pay-per-view or that TV over here.
The hype's just not the same. Like when you guys, like I remember seeing commercials when you guys were going to be on this season. Like you don't see any of that unless you're watching FS1 now. Like it's, I don't think
Yeah,
anybody even knew it was airing this
that,
week.
that season's a very hard season to beat because it was probably one of the most enjoyable seasons, probably the most. I mean, so many people come off of that season and went on to success. They had a lot of different mixtures of fighters and athletes on that season. So it's very hard to beat that kind of hype train. Plus, there's always that comparison problem. People are always going to compare the heavyweights to when we was on as well. So they've got a lot to live up to. So it's only the first episode. Hopefully there's some good fights, there's some good characters, and hopefully it picks up for them.
There's never going to be two better coaches than Rashad and and Rampage, man. Those are the best coaches. Like there's no one that's going to outshine what went down
Well,
that season.
they had a lot of rivalry back then, you know what I mean? It was legit rivalry as well, and they both could talk and they could both do things to make it happen. I mean, so, it was legit. So everyone felt that the realness in it at the time.
Yeah, there were so many good highlights. Like even when he ripped down the, were you there when he ripped down the door? Were you right there?
Yeah,
What was
yeah,
going
right.
through everyone's mind in that moment?
We were just laughing because it was like a crepe paper door. The door was just made out of
It came down pretty
cardboard.
easy. Yeah, it was like
Well,
cardboard.
no, because don't forget, it's a gym, but it's a studio, right? And it's just they're not made of real, solid wooden doors. None of them. So it wasn't like it was a setup or nothing. All the doors are just flimsy as crap because they're cheap, and it's the people slamming doors and getting bad moods and punching things all the time around that place. So they're not going to waste their money on high, expensive oak doors. So it was just finding a way. No one knew he was going to do it. He just got upset, stormed off because one of his fighters lost. and just ripped the shit out of the door. Yeah.
Didn't you have to get in between him and Rashad, like at one point?
Yeah, we did numerous times. We got in between, and me and Rampage actually got into an argument a couple of times as well. But it was all just done in the heat of the moment at the time. And everyone's fighters. No one's going to back down. Everyone's getting tired. We were in the house, so we were all on a fine edge of, patience is at zero. You know what I mean? We're all frustrated. We're all getting ready for fights. Every day, every argument, these two are arguing and bickering all the time. It was getting tiring for us. We were getting pissed off of it as well because we couldn't go to the gym and train without these two clashing and seeing each other and arguing for 20 minutes and wasting, an hour of training. So we were getting fatigued of it as well. So it was getting on everyone's nerves eventually.
Yeah, there were so many moments even outside the coach, and like Justin Wren and a little speedo thong for the weigh-ins against Roy Nelson, that was hilarious. Also, Adelaide Bird scoring that fight wrong. Like, then who knew 10 years later she was going to destroy the biggest fight in boxing history? Like, there were a lot of great moments, and that's a perfect segue here. Just announced Kimbo Slice's son, Little Slice, I guess Baby Slice, is going to be fighting October 12th for Bellator, and he's going to be making his lightweight debut. I'll be ringside covering all the action for you guys at Bellator, at Mohegan Sun. Also, this weekend I will be at Lion Fight covering all the action there for some Muay Thai on Flow Combat. Also, let's get into another fight announcement here. BJ Penn versus Ryan Hall. Did you hear this? What are your thoughts here for BJ Penn returning?
I just saw that today. I just don't think he should. I just don't think he should. I think his legacy's enough. I mean, he's going to fight for his own reasons. It's not for money. It's not for money, that's for sure. He was already extremely wealthy before he got into fighting. But I don't know. I just wish he wouldn't, But a lot of these guys want to come back and keep doing it. So, yeah.
The hunger's there, but
super talented. Just wish he'd just let it go.
You know what I like, James, is that fighters are doing grappling tournaments and stuff like that. Like, why isn't BJ pursuing something like that?
Yeah, because his jiu-jitsu, the guy is legit, right? He's one of the highest level jiu-jitsu guys in the world. I mean, that'd be much better for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's get BJ Penn on like an EBI. Could you imagine how huge that would be? Like, that would just be
absolutely fantastic. It'd be massive. But
more people would be down for that.
Yeah, I don't know why they do it.
All right, so getting towards the end of this episode, guys, one last thing that we definitely need to talk about here is obviously there's been a lot of huge fights coming up, but there's one thing that really kind of irks me here, and I really hope that ESPN is going to put a fix to this, because me and James were talking about it last week with, how big of a platform Spike was at the time, and we all thought when they moved to FS1, it was going to really help the UFC. Little did we know that it really actually hurt. So is ESPN going to help? Because Jessica Andrade came out this week, and she was telling people that she has to sell her own fight here to make ends meet. This is a top-ranked UFC fighter. It's just very sad. Do you think ESPN is going to be exactly what we need here to help fighters get more money in their pockets like the people in the NFL are making, NHL, baseball?
Well, they would never make that kind of money. That's never going to happen. That's for sure. I think that's ever going to happen. Baseball make incredible. But look how many games they play a season.
Yeah.
I mean, baseball is no joke. They play week after week after week after week. And training and everything else they do. They go on tour. They travel the world. It's unbelievable how much. I didn't realize how much they do. Same with the NFL guys. What they have to do during their season and then off-season work as well. But it's just never going to be that way because it's so hard to explain. There's too many people in the promotion world that make too much money. And nothing's going to turn that around so quick. It's not like the money's not there. The money's there. It's just going to go to promoters instead than fighters. And it does in boxing. It goes to the high-level guys, like the Floyds, the Mike Tysons, all these bigger names that are top champions. They can make hundreds of millions of dollars. But that's one fight out of one show. There's 80% of that card don't make that much money. Whereas watch a UFC fight, there's a lot of people on that card that make good money. But the first preliminary fights, the first half of that card is not making good money at all. So, and the fact is, there's such a hunger now for these young kids to get to the UFC. They'll sell their soul to get, into the UFC. They'll sign for any amount of money because once they're in the UFC, they're at the highest level, right? Their dream is to be in the UFC, not so much to make millions of dollars. They'd love to make millions of dollars, but they won't. there's only a certain amount of people in the world that come through the UFC that have made millions,
Yeah.
that made star money. They've been around for a long time. Usually when you've been a champion or about to be a champion, you've made that good money. But it's not retirement money. It's not like you can just, make a few million and then retire. You're going to hope. Dana White explained it the best. Your whole of opportunity in the fight world is about this big. You hope to get in it, make as much money and build as much brand and bigger name for yourself as you can. So when it's over, you can live the rest of your life piggybacking off of the name you made in some respect, whether it's for a gym, movies, TV, whatever you're going to do, use that to get on to what you're actually going to do when you retire. Because it doesn't last that long. How many people can you say that were absolutely phenomenal at one stage and then now they can't win a fight if they try?
And that's another thing. Like, I interviewed Justin Gaethje a couple of years ago when he was with World Series of Fighting. I was like, you got all these promotions wanting to get you on board with them. Are you thinking about moving up? And he looks at me and he goes, well, what's moving up in MMA? It's making a bigger paycheck. So, like, there's these
Yeah.
other promotions where, like, should Justin Gaethje have left if he was making, $150,000 plus a year to go over to the UFC? Is he going to be making that much money over there in the top five? You know what I mean? So
Probably not.
it's a great point that
Unfortunately,
you just brought up there.
there's a story out there right now that one of the girls had to sell her gloves and her shorts at the end of her training camp just to get through the training camp for the next fight. She had no money, and that's a common story in fighters coming up through the ranks. Very common, or they have full-time jobs and do whatever they've got to do because they just don't make the money. It's very difficult. I don't see it changing anytime soon, unfortunately.
Well, on that note, guys, let us know what you think about all the topics that we spoke about today. Between starting out with, Conor McGregor, talking about BJ Penn going into EBI. I would love to see that way more than I'd like to see him fight. Curtis Blades versus Francis Ngannou, guys. Let us know what you think at Gloves Off Podcast on Facebook, also at McSweeney MMA on Instagram, and follow us on Twitter at Gloves Off Pod. That's GLOVES. Make sure to subscribe down below here. James, what do you got set up for the rest of the week before we close out here?
Oh, I've got a load going on. I'll go back in the gym tonight to train. I've got a fight coming up soon, so I'll be announcing that very soon.
Awesome.
I'm just going to be concentrating on some of the fighters I have here. Then they're leaving in a couple of weeks, and then I can just pretty much knuckle down myself. I've got some traveling to do. I've got to go over to Holland and train with my coaches, and then I've got to go to do my own fight. Then I've got a seminar tour across Europe, America, and Canada. So I'm all over the place. Yeah, I'm going to be real busy. So who knows where the next podcast will be? It'll probably be in Holland.
That would be sick. That would be cool.
I'll be coming from there. But no, it's been great, guys. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And look forward to seeing you all soon.
Subscribe down below, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. I know everyone went back to school. So thanks for tuning in, whether you're at the gym, on your way to work, wherever you are. Have a great night. James, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys all soon.